Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Friday, September 15th. We are preparing for Week 2. Got your Week 2 Jaguars versus Chiefs preview. They will be hosting the Chiefs. It's going to be a teal out this weekend. Make sure you get out and wear that teal around the city. Definitely on game day, the Jaguars will be wearing all teal. They're all teal uniforms when they host the Chiefs this weekend. Master versus apprentice at the bank. Andy Reid versus Doug Peterson, the rematch. These two coaches, they know each other extremely well, but each will have a few tricks up their sleeve on the offensive side of the ball, no doubt about it. They both have diverse offenses. A lot of fun can be had on the offensive side of the ball with a lot of talent and a lot of play calling. Playoff rematch. Jaguars, they fell to the Chiefs twice in 2022. Both of those matchups were in Arrowhead, the Chiefs' home. Now the Jaguars get to play host to see if they can defend the bank, the newly renamed Everbank Stadium. Tremendous matchup here overall, right? Early season matchup with big implications. You know, whoever wins this game, if there is a seeding war for the playoffs at the end of the year, whoever has the tiebreaker, whoever wins this game will have the tiebreaker head-to-head against each other. So it could have big implications there down the road. Overall, though, it is still just a Week 2 matchup. It's not going to make or break either team's season, but it is a fantastic matchup on paper between two really good football teams. The Jaguars are coming off a 10-point road division win in Indianapolis, while the Chiefs, they lost in the opening game of the season on Thursday Night Football last week to the Lions, so they have had a little bit more rest than the Jaguars preparing for this one. But of course, the Chiefs against the Lions, they were without two of their big three. Of course, they did have Patrick Mahomes, but no Travis Kelce and no Chris Jones on the defensive side of the ball. Both of those players are expected to be back this week in some capacity. So that will help the Chiefs out, certainly, more than it did in Week 1. Looking at the Jaguars offense versus the Chiefs defense, Trevor Lawrence, he has Doug Peterson and Press Taylor dialing it up for him. Doug Peterson no longer the play caller. Press Taylor is the full-time play caller in Jacksonville for the Jaguars. We'll see how that plays out in Week 2, but an incredible arsenal of running backs and receivers for Trevor Lawrence to throw the football to. You look at Calvin Ridley, you look at Christian Kirk, who had a slow week in Week 1, but I think he's probably on track for a big Week 2 performance. Obviously, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram at tight end. You look in the backfield, you've got Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby, both of whom scored touchdowns last week. The Jaguars showed their confidence in Bigsby after he fumbled the ball and dropped an interception to keep giving him the ball, and he was able to hit pay dirt late in that game. As I mentioned, Calvin Ridley, his debut, the connection with Trevor Lawrence, over 100 yards and a touchdown in Week 1. I think that he really opens up the Jaguars offense in a variety of ways, especially down the field, verticality. Christian Kirk, again, he was quiet last week, but he has some extra motivation going into this game because he had some big games against the Chiefs last year, but in each of those games, there was a little mistake here or two, a pass not quite hauled in that I think he would have really liked to have back. So I think Christian Kirk could be in for a big day here. The Jaguars, they will likely want to get their ground game going a little bit more than they did in Week 1. I said both running backs scored, but that was late in the game. Overall, the Colts defense did a really good job defending the run. The Chiefs have a solid run defense as well. Nick Bolton, one of the best run defending linebackers in the league right now. But the Jags, if they want to have more balance on offense, if they want to be able to control the ball a little bit more, they're going to be trying to get that running game going with Etienne and Bigsby. Chris Jones. This is one of the, if not the best defensive tackles in the league. I still think Aaron Donald is probably up there in a tier by himself, but Chris Jones is right there with him. He is expected to play this week after agreeing to a reworked one-year deal with the Chiefs. But how much? How much is he going to be ready to play? He did not participate in training camp. He hasn't played, since the Super Bowl. So how is that going to look for Chris Jones? How many reps is he going to play? How effective will he be? He dominated the Jaguars in 2022. And the Jaguars right now, they've got some issues going on the interior with the guys that will be lining up against Chris Jones. Luke Fortner and Brandon Sheriff both dealing with ankle injuries. Both did practice on Thursday, but albeit in a limited fashion. So how's that going to look? If both of those guys are available, you feel a little bit better about it, right? But if they're not, could be in a world of hurt against Chris Jones if he is at full strength, if he is able to be the regular, high impact interior defensive lineman that we all know. I think another interesting note here, you could see some Felix Anudike-Uzomah, the Chiefs' first-round pick, versus Anton Harrison on the right side. Two rookies from the Big 12 who went head-to-head multiple times in college. Just a little fun matchup. Both of these guys ended up being high draft picks, and they could be squaring off against each other a few times in this game. Two guys, Anudike-Uzomah from Lee's Summit right outside of Kansas City, went to Kansas State, and then obviously Anton Harrison from Oklahoma. They have history with each other. I'll be excited to see if they get to square off. Defensively, the Chiefs, they ran a little bit of everything in week 1 on the back end, primarily cover 1 and cover 2, but there was some cover 3 mixed in with a little bit of quarters as well. So they've got a diverse set of coverages on the back end, no doubt about it. The Chiefs blitzed quite a lot last week. Will they do it again this week? To this point in his young career, Trevor Lawrence, he's proven to be better when not blitzed. And that's another part of his maturation and growth. I think a lot of quarterbacks, as they grow, they get more experienced in this league, they tend to improve against the blitz. And like Patrick Mahomes, he's a guy, teams have had some struggles when they try to blitz him because he'll have a hot read, he'll get the ball out quickly, and then it's off to the races. So I don't know if the Chiefs defense will continue to blitz at a high rate this week. I would guess that they will. Spagnuolo probably will until Trevor Lawrence proves that it's a bad idea. But we'll see how that plays out. Looking at the Jaguars defense versus the Chiefs offense, in week 1, the Chiefs receivers, they were not executing the route concepts at a high level consistently, and they weren't hauling in the football the way you'd expect, right? They were dropping the ball. Kadarius Toney, he had several drops. He had never dropped more than a pass in a game in his career, collegiate or professional. So do they still have faith in him? It looked like he was their primary receiver last week, the guy they wanted to get the ball the most, and he just couldn't hold on to it. How will that play out? Definitely interested to see, right? Kadarius Toney is a guy Urban Meyer wanted in 2021. The Giants ended up taking him. Jaguars were not able to land him, and then they get Travis Etienne, which obviously has been a blessing for the Jaguars. He's an awesome running back. Great speed that Travis Etienne brings to the field. But how does Kadarius Toney perform in this one? Do they continue to try to force the ball to him? Will Travis Kelce help fix the Chiefs' problems on offense? He's been the Chiefs' primary weapon, especially against the Jaguars, who struggle to cover tight ends. I think the answer is just going to depend on how healthy that knee is and how much they're willing to play him, if at all. I think it's still a little bit up in the air what Travis Kelce's game status is going to be this week. You expect him to go out and suit up, but none of that has been confirmed. And if he does suit up, how effective is he? I think it'll be fascinating to see. And I think his health could help determine this matchup. I really do. Like, the Chiefs so heavily featured him against the Jaguars in 2022, and they really struggle against tight ends, especially Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in the game. So if he's able to go out and be, regular, healthy Travis Kelce, I think the Jaguars are going to be in some big trouble on the defensive side of the ball. If not, I think they'll have a chance. The Chiefs, they do have Pacheco, CEH, Jerick McKinnon in the backfield, a nice complement of backs who can do different things for you, get the job done in a variety of ways. The Jaguars have a strong run defense, but they'll need to perform better than they did, especially in the playoffs against the Chiefs, against the run. Bottom line, I think that Pacheco got loose a little bit against them, and they need to try to avoid that in week 2 here if they're trying to get to 2-0 and put the Chiefs in a hole at 0-2. Patrick Mahomes, he was visibly frustrated last week with the drops and the lack of execution by his pass catchers, but he still managed to have an impressive game on his end. He's the best quarterback on the planet still, and to slow him down, it will take close to a Herculean effort by the Jaguars defense, but I think if they just execute the game plan, that they'll have a chance. Josh Allen says this one is personal for him. He said he was not at his best in the last 2 matchups in 2022 against the Chiefs. Can he be at his best this week? We know what his best looks like. It's dominant. And Trayvon Walker, he was disruptive in the season opener. Can he continue to be disruptive in week 2 against this talented Chiefs offense? Can they frustrate and disrupt Patrick Mahomes while not allowing him to escape the pocket and pick up big yardage with his legs or create outside of the pocket? It is a tough assignment, and the Jaguars do not have a lot of depth behind Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, so it'll be a tall task for these two. The Jags, they ran a bunch of cover 3 with a sprinkling of several other looks on the back end in week 1. Cover 1, tad bit of cover 2, cover 4 quarters. They did a lot last week, and that's kind of their MO with Mike Caldwell. He makes it difficult for opposing offenses by running a bunch of different coverages on the back end and by mixing it up a lot on the front end as well, having a lot of different looks for these offenses to prepare for. If you can execute those looks, you could really frustrate this Chiefs high-powered offense. But that is a big if, especially against the Chiefs. We'll have bold predictions coming out for you tomorrow, including our score prediction. Not going to get into that just yet. You'll have to tune in tomorrow for the score prediction and some other bold predictions in this one. But really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got a little information out of it. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. Again, really appreciate y'all tuning in. Have a good one.